Welcome, everyone. I am so excited. We are finally here. Speak Up. We're so happy today because we've been trying to do this for about a month. And we promised you in April we were coming. So we're here today. You're watching Speak Up, a weekly talk show where we will have straight talk and critical conversation about the state of Black Kansas City and our ecosystem. I'm Kim Randolph, your host, and now let's get down to business. What is an ecosystem? The simplest definition of an ecosystem is that it is a community or a group of living organisms that live and interact with each other in a specific environment. Let me introduce our guests. Today, I have two of my most favorite people. We talk all the time, we collab all the time, and convening and collaboration in ecosystem has been one of our topics for the longest. I'm going to start off by introducing Craig Moore, who is with Black Excellence, and my good friend Dan Smith, who is with Porterhouse KC, and everybody around town knows Porterhouse KC.
Yeah.
So, I was going to do this whole bio on you guys, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you, because you both have very important organizations that you work with. And I'd like you to just kind of talk about your organization. Craig?
I knew I was going to be Craig.
Absolutely.
My name is Craig Moore, founder of Black Excellence KC. We are focused on professional development with talent in Kansas City. So that is connecting them, giving them opportunities of development and opportunities to just celebrate one another. So hyper focus on just ensuring that the Black professionals of Kansas City has the opportunities or have the advantage to take advantage of they have the direction to take advantage of the opportunities here in Kansas City and retain themselves in Kansas City.
All right.
Yeah.
Appreciate you inviting us off to have this conversation. You like that change?
I like that. That was dope.
No, my name is Dan Smith. I'm a co-founder of the organization called the Porterhouse KC organization, created to help support entrepreneurs in the urban core through various means. We do classroom training, we have mentorship, and then we also have a little funding opportunity for small businesses. So really excited about the work that we're doing, and even more excited right now about this conversation that we're about to have.
Cool beans. Yeah, for real, this conversation is something that we've had on a regular.
Yeah.
I think Dan and I have probably been talking about this for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
And so, we know that both your organizations are known well in Kansas City. People know who you are. And you're very visible on the social media platforms and all that. But, we also you all both have resources, great resources. But we talked about how much more impact could we have if your resources work together. Mm-hmm. So let's talk a little bit about convening, collaboration, and resources. Mm-hmm. Who wants to go first?
I'll defer to.
I just love this. No.
Brother Craig to jump us off.
So do I need to ask a question?
No, I mean I can go. I mean, I think there's levels to everything that we do, and I think collaboration is very important in our space. And when we talk about ecosystem and how to cohabitate in the same space, right? And for the greater good, right? We got to figure out what that greater good is first, I think, before we jump into collaborating. But from our perspective and our approach is we always come with what can we do for another organization as it relates to collaboration first, and then what can we do as a collective to kind of grow the things that we're doing together, right? I know there's always this discussion about how do we collaborate, like how does that happen? And I think that if we all come from a mind frame of what can I do for you rather than what can I get from you, I think that kind of starts us off with a better situation rather than me coming to you and wondering what you can do for us first before we jump into this space together, right? So it's kind of where I feel like we can kind of start and grow.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think one thing that we do when we're talking about programming in BXKC is about not reinventing the wheel, right? So I think that we all kind of ideate amongst our organizations on like, what is it that our community needs? And when we identify those, then you have to ask yourselves, well, who's already in that space and who's doing that? And so when you figure that out, then we jump right back on the bandwagon. So how can we support this effort? If you're already putting in that work, you already create those connections and you have that traction, more than likely you just need added support to help it grow to what it needs to be. And so, and then that's how you stand out in the ecosystem as well, right? That's how you find your lane. And then once you find your lane, then if everybody's on the same wavelength of supporting each other, then that collaboration to me happens organically. So
absolutely. You know, Dan, you hit on something early on when you said finding out what somebody else needs before going in saying, I need you to give me. We talk about that a lot. I am a strong advocate for giving up the welfare system. And I call it the welfare system because I think that we could do better if we're not asking someone to give us something. Even in our membership, our chamber membership, and Craig is a board member, but he'll tell you that our corporate partners are partners. We don't look for sponsors because sponsors will give you, you know, what they want you to have. A partner will give you what you need, or at least support what you need. And I think in our collaborations and when we start talking about building our ecosystem, you and I especially, Dan, have built that relationship that we've worked together consistently. And it's not a time I can't call and say, Dan, I need you and Sharon, and you're there. And that's the start of building a good ecosystem. Craig is the same way. Black Excellence came in and started working with Hype. So what motivated you guys? Because think about it.
Can I go back really quick? I want to go back to not leave this little space of conversation first.
Okay.
Because I think it's important also to note that conflict is not avoidable.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, good. Good one.
And if we're in this trying to figure out what's greater for the greater good of what we're trying to accomplish together, I think understanding the lean into conflict and understanding because we're from Kansas City, so there's this little thing called the Kansas City Nice. I know Cincinnati has this thing called Cincy Nice, but Kansas City Nice is a little different. Kansas City Nice is avoiding conflict as much as possible. But when you can't avoid it, you kind of smile in the face of conflict and try to, kind of tippy toe around it and try to figure out ways to get around it. But I don't think that's what effective ecosystem building is. And I don't think that's effective collaboration because we know at times there's going to be points of conflict, right? Points of a misunderstanding. But it's okay if it's still in the light of what we're trying to accomplish together. Right. And we have to lean into that and what that effectively means. So I think that a part of the collaboration piece is also understanding that conflict is going to happen. So how do we figure out ways to like it's not a personal attack on Dan Smith. Right. It's conflict because we can't see a common ground, which is it happens everywhere. Right. That you can't find a common ground at that point initially. But there's also additional conversations that need to be had to find a common ground. It doesn't necessarily mean that you lose or you win, but it's a middle space where we both can figure out ways to keep progressing forward with our goals and our objectives. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I think a lot of it has to do with, you have to tackle those tough conversations. And really you have to have that tough conversation within yourself.
All right.
What is it that I am lacking in, before I go to the person who I feel like might be stepping on my toes. So if I can identify within myself, all right, I'm not strong in this, but they're strong in this. And it's not so coming at the other person that you have to have that tough conversation with as if you're in my space and you're not doing it right. It's just, what is it that we can do to make this a better situation? And more than likely, you'll find what that balance is. And I've seen that plenty of times amongst people who I've seen should collaborate with each other. Yeah. This is your strength over here, but you're stronger at this over here. If you combine us together, I mean, that's what our counterparts do all the time.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Do you think, and I'm going to pivot back, do you think that a lot of that has to do with egos?
I think maybe
This is critical conversation.
No. It
Yeah.
is, and I think a part of it is it's an ego thing, but it's also ego and insecurity. It's also
that's a good one. Yeah.
what history shows us and tells us, because you see there's we get into this scarcity mindset. I mean, there's a lot of levels, right, to this conversation. It's a scarcity mindset. It's the lack of understanding of what we are actually trying to accomplish, and understanding that these things can be done together. There used to be this, and it's still there, this guarding of the gates perspective that's there as well. So there's reasons, right? This is not something that we're just like, you just got to figure out ways to collaborate, and this is what it is. And if you don't, you're not a part of the ecosystem, and you're not. So it's understandable. Like, these things are understandable, but I think conflict is the way through those things, right?
Yeah.
We figure out what those issues are. We figure out what the perspectives are, but we got to be open enough to share it. We got to get outside of this Kansas City nice thing, and we got to be able to be open and sharing what our perspectives are. And then also, if you do have this scarcity mindset, how do we get outside of that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
How do we not figure that we need to hoard everything, because if we don't do it here, then we're the best to do it, and nobody else could do all these things, and there's one after another and after another and after another, and all these other organizations that are around are growing, but they could grow so much more with collaborative effort, rather than this person or this group or individuals of like just trying to hold everything in this small space. You know what I mean?
Would you say that it because of these siloed groups, they affect the impact of the community, or the lack of impact in the community, because we have so many people almost doing the same thing, but instead of us coming together and pulling our resources and being able to not say, BXKC, you don't exist because you're going to fall up under Porterhouse, but under Porter, it's almost like somebody comes to you and you don't do that. Mm-hmm. I'm going to send you over to BXKC, and you're working together in a collaborative. Or as you continue on to your growth, I'll move you to this level here. Are we not doing that? Are we not?
I think everybody, in a sense, I don't think that there's one right path for anything, right?
Yeah, right.
And then when you think about programs, I feel like it's almost like in business, everybody has their target demographic.
Yeah.
McDonald's and Burger King is pretty much the same exact thing, and I go to both.
Yeah.
So it's like, and you get the same feel that you need. So if there wasn't back end competition, and just more so of, this is the resources available, and you can pick your own path through these resources according to what your needs are, or according to what your personality is. My personality might not fit with the facilitator who is over this program that has all this funding, but it fits better with this person who's over here. So it's like, if we can be okay with that having, and then what really is going to keep us as a collaborative is we collaborate on the data. Like, the data is what is going to be, we need to share in on and be like, this is what's happening in our ecosystem from this data, and then we can distribute the resources from that. And that's just my perspective. So.
Yeah. So Dan and I have been on a couple of grant opportunities together, and what I've learned in being on those grant opportunities is that the collaboration that we put together, because of that, we've been successful. But it also opened my eyes to, the more that we collaborate, the easier it is to get funded. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of organizations that are pop-up organizations, and you're getting, and I'm not saying you in particular, but they're getting some funding. But how much more if we collaborated and can show them a larger number by data that we would impact? How much more would they get if we could just trust one another to come together and bring all our resources together? or even have them available together.
Mhm.
It doesn't mean that we have to come under, under one roof or under, but where we are freeing up to number one, support one another's resources, but free enough to say, hey, you can find us with all the rest of these people.
Mhm.
I think the question can almost be flipped too. Is like, when will the resources stop if we don't collaborate? Because honestly, it's like if you're continuing to dump into an empty pot, you know what I mean, that doesn't have true impact, then at some point that resource is going to dry up, and then now the community has to collaborate and come together to show proof that we need these resources again. You know what I mean? So that's the thing that I'm fearful of, is that it's being spread so thin. The resources or the funding for the resources is being spread so thin without any impact that it's going to eventually dry up, and we're going to have to figure out a better way to approach.
It's really, and maybe people can say this was one-sided because I invited you guys because we've had the collaboration conversation. But the reason we've had this conversation is I have a belief that in order for things to change, you can't stand around and argue the point. You have to find people who are ready to move on the action and move forward. What motivated you guys to want to collaborate? I mean, because we're in a city that collaboration is not, it's not a famous thing.
Yeah, it's not. And I think it's from a grassroots perspective, it's not as accepted, right? The more that you get into these open spaces, and you've told me many times, like the more that you grow and you get introduced to different spaces, the more you see that collaboration actually happens a lot from the larger perspective. It's just not from a grassroots perspective, and I think it's because we are used to. And it's kind of like the entrepreneurial, like the small business, mind frame that, you come into a space and I can't share my idea with anybody in here, because if I do, they'll take my idea, or they'll take what's mine, and I can't afford that, or whatever the case may be. Because I think it's partially true, right? It is partially true that sometimes when you share things, because we see it all the time, when you share some stuff and you see other organizations taking it and kind of running with ideas and things like that. Stuff like that happens. But what's real is that you got to come from a different mindset, right? Nobody will do it like you would do it, right? So you can share your stuff with 10 different organizations, and all 10 of them take your idea, and none of them be the same, and none of them still be like the way that you would administer this program, right? And so, which is okay. But I think the collaboration piece and the ecosystem piece it tells us like, hey, if I come and share this information or share this with this group, our goal should be to like, all right, let's try to big up that group that came out and shared what they were trying to accomplish and what they're trying to do. So, and that happens a lot, and not in our space. Obviously, like I said, the more you grow, the more that you see these things happening. Which is dope. But like I said, I really, and like you alluded to earlier about our conversations and the openness that we have, I feel like these are great. And we've had conversations where we didn't agree, right? In certain circumstances and certain things, and which is fine.
Yeah.
The hard part is when you get, like I said, the personal feelings about like if I was attacking Kim, or if Kim was attacking Dan or Craig, or whatever the case may be, like we have to, and I'm reading this book, Adam Grant, he kind of puts it well, he's a psychologist, and I'm not going to quote, but some of the things that he talks about in there is the way to handle conflict, right? Effectively handling conflict from an entrepreneur's perspective or a leader's perspective, right? And the understanding that it's not an impersonal attack on the person, it's an acknowledgement and a disagreement on the subject matter at hand, right? So how do we figure out how to get past the subject matter at hand? But I mean, there's so many, like I said, there's a lot of layers to the conversation, man. But we just got to do a better job as leaders, we have to do better jobs at helping facilitate these conversations and making them happen. I think that in the space that we sit in, as leaders, we have a hard time getting to that space. And it confuses people, the people that we're supporting too.
Yeah.
Right? Like, who do I go to? If I go to this group, does that mean that I'm not in alliance with this group? Or if I'm not in alliance with this group, if I go to this thing, does that mean that, the group that I've been rocking with is not going to rock with me anymore? I mean, I think that's for us, the organizations, to be able to like communicate and express to public that our goal is to help the people that need help.
Yeah.
Right? Our goal is not to be at war or conflict with another organization.
That's right. That's right. I really like what you just said. Our goal is not to be in conflict with with another organization, but to help people. The mission. Stand on mission. I have learned a lot, and Dan and I have had. I don't call them conflicts. We've had disagreements, so we got to identify a conflict from a disagreement at first. Yeah. But second, again, we have to remember the mission, and if we stay on mission, even when we feel like that we have the strongest position and we're right, sometimes your right is not right now.
Yeah.
And you got to know when your right is right now.
Yep.
And so I've had to not right now a couple of times, but at the end of the day, this is not work for the weary either.
No.
I mean, this is not a get quick or get rich quick or get fixed quick type of situation, because we have a lot of work to do. Yeah. So I'm gonna bring something else to you. In our organizations, my personal opinion is the breakdown has come in two things: silos and leadership too long. There's a time when I think that as a leader, we should all have succession plans, but we should all be preparing our next generation to carry the torch or to take us to the next level. If you go back in history, we're supposed to be leveling up with history. And somewhere down the line, we started plateauing. Yeah. And we've been in a plateau until here recently. Now you can see us moving up, but it's the next generation who is taking charge. The thing that scares me about the next generation is that you're siloing. You all have great ambition, but there's enough out there for you to all do. Y'all can almost all do the same thing, and still nobody's going to be left behind. Right. So, I mean, just in that, what are some of the workshop exercises that you guys think that we can start doing together to start bringing our ecosystem together to get people on that mindset?
I think it just starts off with just the transparency of conversation, honestly.
Yeah.
And that trust factor, right? I think you hit the nail on the head when you said sometimes you walk in a room and you don't want to share your ideas because you're not sure. I've been in that situation.
Yeah, I know.
But you have to trust the people, and you also have to trust yourself. You know what I mean? And a lot of that leads to purpose. You know what I mean? So what is that gut feeling that you get in those rooms where you're talking to people, and you should be okay with your idea? That means it was a good idea. Yeah. Somebody took it.
Yeah, right. Obviously, it was a great idea.
But I think it just starts with those transparent conversations and being open and honest. And I feel like the ones who are not, I'm trying to think of the right word. The ones who don't accept that honesty are the ones who are not supposed to be in the room anyway. You know, and that's honestly what it is. It's like, are we really putting ourselves in positions to be in rooms with certain people or be in rooms with the right people?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so when you take that approach of it and you know that you're within purpose and you're creating these conversations, then the right people will come around, and you just got to keep moving forward. And that's what it is. It's like, once you say something, you got to do it. Like, I think that's one thing that we like. I love California so much because when you're in California, you talk to somebody, they calling you that evening with what y'all talked about with action steps.
Wow.
Kansas City, it's like 2 weeks later. Like, let me.
You're calling them. You're calling them because
like, you remember what we talked about? I was like, man, I ain't looked at them notes in 2 weeks. You know what I mean? So it's like, We have to be on, all right, this is what we're talking about. Let's make it happen, but also understand your capacity.
Yes.
That's one thing I had to learn with you and I.
Yeah.
It's like, I have to understand my capacity when I want to, as passionate as I am about it, as much as I want to make it happen. If I don't have the capacity for it, then I got to be able to be
honest about that.
Yeah.
I don't have the capacity. And I think that's another big issue that we have is that we want to be all things to all people. And it's not for us to be all things. Dan and I had a good conversation about what the chamber should be. And because see, I'm a for-profit girl. I didn't know nothing about this nonprofit, chamber of commerce or anything. However, I did understand that we needed some connectability and we needed to figure things out. But Dan said something very profound and true. I'm supposed to be a convener. The chamber is not supposed to do anything other than bring the resources together, have the conversations, find ways to support all the resources and get them moving and helping the community. If you are a organization and you say your mission is to help, then my job is to help you help. That's all I'm supposed to do. I'm not to be there trying to do I don't want to do what Dan do. I don't want to do 12, 18-week classes. I'll come to your graduation. But that's a lot of work. You're doing the same thing. You're building careers, a whole different pathway, but nobody knows what you're doing unless we're out here pushing it. We can have as many accolades and write-ups and Facebook posts and all that. But if we're not actually out there in the community in which we say we serve, then we're not really being impactful.
I agree.
And so, go back to your motivation. You guys are both motivated, and it just
with me, BSKC came from a path that I didn't have myself. Honestly, I feel like that, I have such an eclectic career path, and it was honestly because I was trying to figure out who I was. And I didn't have, I've had resources, but I didn't know how to really apply those resources the correct way. And that's essentially what we're trying to build with BSKC. Is like, even though it's okay that you don't know where you want to go, at least you know that all these resources are out here, and we're going to be your accountability partner in saying, all right, this is working. Oh, you want to pivot? Let's pivot, but we're going to continue to work with you. And so that's my motivation and then honestly, it's my kids too. Like, I want my kids to have something that I didn't have. And if as structured as it can be, and if it can be in a nutshell with what BSKC, what we're forming BSKC to be, then that's what I want to provide. So it is somewhat selfish because, I'm trying to make sure my kids are all right, but then it's something that impacts the community at the same time. So
absolutely. We could talk about this all day and you guys will be back. You know that, right? Because, I just want to make sure you know that. I do want to thank you both for coming on and starting off. This is our first show. So we're going to kick it off talking about convening and collaboration. And I want everyone out there to understand that Speak Up is a talk show about speaking up in the Black community and having critical conversation. We're not holding back. It's a no holds bar, but we definitely want to be impactful in what we're doing. We're not doing this just to have fun. We're doing this because we can make a change and we can grow our community and we can be a better business community. So together, I want to thank you guys for always saying yes. If y'all ever say no, trust me, I know people. I want to thank Televida again for taking care of us and being a great production company. We are looking forward to seeing you every week on Televida. And I'd like you to know that I will be back every week. And coming up, we're going to have critical conversation with our faith-based community. And it's faith and the community. So look forward to seeing us in a week.